Hello, everyone. Welcome to the State PA Day webinar. Can someone confirm that they can see my screen, please, and that they can hear us? And then we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much, Jennifer O'Brien. Okay. So as you can see, we have a packed agenda today. And thanks, Rick Winter, for acknowledging that you can see us and hear us. We do have a packed agenda today, so I'm going to go ahead and let our first presenter go ahead. We have Elizabeth Navarez from our Colorado Shine CCR&R. And hold on one sec, Elizabeth, and I will give you access.
Okay, perfect.
And please be sure to type in the chat box any questions, and we'll get to them as quickly as possible.
Okay, perfect. I think I am showing my screen now. Can you let me know if you can see it?
We can see it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, excellent. So good afternoon, everyone. My time on the floor is going to be super brief. I don't have a lot to share with you, but it's great that I get the space. And if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to let me know. The only slide that I have for you here is our survey data for the month of September. So far, we have surveyed 24 people, and the questions that we ask is just to find out, number one, were people able to find care with the information that we provided? And if so, how has that helped them? And if not, what are the reasons? Why weren't they able to find care? We also ask about our services. Were we able to provide a professional, customer-friendly service? Was the information that we provided helpful? And if they would recommend us to their friends or families. So as I've said, we only, so far we have completed 24 surveys total. So we're 80% completed. And here are the results. So 71% of families were able to find childcare. 29 were not able to, and the reasons are outlined down here. Less than 1% was due to no availability. 25% haven't started searching for childcare. So that's actually a pretty high percentage of families who weren't able to begin the search. Typically, I do want to add that typically we give families about 2 to 3 weeks for them to begin searching for childcare before we call and survey them. So we feel that that's ample time for them to begin their search. But if this is a trend that continues to happen, we might perhaps think about our processes and maybe give families more time for them to search for childcare. And then 17% chose other, and these were random comments from families that either they decided to stay with their current provider, or they no longer needed childcare, or there were other things that they consider. When it comes to rating the quality of our service, 75% of callers rated our service as good or excellent, and 92% will recommend our services to a friend or family member. So these are all the questions, well, not all the questions, but these are the highlights of the questions that we ask our clients to see if we're providing the right service and if we're helping in the right way. To remind you all about our process when somebody calls, we go through the whole intake. We ask questions about their current situation to get a better picture of what they're needing. We ask about schedules and ages of the kiddos, what the situation is, what they'll be needing, what type of care they're looking for. That helps us narrow down the providers to pull from the database. And then we also provide educational information to our families. We always make sure that we touch base on quality care, so the Colorado Shines rating, what it means, the levels of the providers. We always try to inform our clients that a level 1 doesn't necessarily mean that they are low in quality. They might be providers who are, working on getting to a higher level. And so we strongly encourage families to to ask the providers to be very engaged with that, to ask them, what level they're in. Do they have any plans to go on at a higher level? And if so, what's that plan? Are they really that engaged? We also ensure to educate families about quality care, questions that they should be asking. We let them know of all the documents that we're going to send out, and to keep an eye out on the checklist, which is super important. And that we encourage parents to take that checklist with them when they're doing tours, so that they know exactly what to ask. So that's typically what it looks like. And as usual, we ask families whether or not they need assistance finding childcare. If a family says yes, then we'll create a plan, and we'll help call providers on their list to see if any of those providers have any availability. And with those type of clients, we reach out to them on a regular basis to let them know what the list looks like, whether we were able to find providers. And if the answer is no, we'll go ahead and create another plan so that we can assess, we can target their needs and really take them where they need to go. So that's pretty much all of what I have for you. Do you guys have any questions for us?
We do have one question, Elizabeth. It says, do you have totals for all the surveys, not just September? And we do, Rick. Usually we'll send them out to the CCRNRs, but if you would like, we can start including ECLA as well. Am I right, Elizabeth?
Yes, I do have totals. I have numbers for each quarter, and then at the end of the year, I compile all that information, and I have yearly totals as well, and I can definitely share that with you.
And we have another question. It says, can we get the survey specific to our SDAs?
Yes, it's a work in progress. I know that is a need that some SDAs have, and it's on my list. It's taking a little longer than I expected, but yes, I'm working into having this data specific to SDA, to an SDA. The difficulty here is that our calls are random. We don't target an SDA. The calls that we make to families are based off of whether or not they gave us permission to follow up with them. So if the client says no, we'll take them off the list and we'll go on to the next client. So that's the difficulty that we have. But yeah, it's a work in progress, and I'll let you know as soon as I'm able to find a solution for this.
Okay, we have one more question, Elizabeth. It says, do you ever follow up with the providers that you send individuals to?
No, we do not. The only communication that we have with providers is that initial request to ask about spaces available. We might engage with providers if we have a family who has a special needs child, and we might be a little bit more engaged in there, asking other questions, such as the services that they offer and whether or not they're able to provide that type of support to families. But after the assistance that we gave to clients, we don't follow further with providers afterwards.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And you just have a shout out from Larimer. They say, thank you for allowing Larimer to shadow the referral staff. It was really helpful.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. It was a really great experience. And if any of you are open to come to our center and shadow our work, I'll be more than happy to have you here. We have great navigators who can show you the work that we do and what it takes to help families find childcare.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. That's all the questions we have.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for your time.
All right, we'll move right along. Next, you might have seen on our agenda, we have the Preschool Development Grant. You've probably heard about that, people talking about it. So we have Lindsay Dornman, our Communications Manager, and Heather Craiglow. And Heather, I know your Head Start, but I always forget your title, and I do have it on the
Lab Director.
We have the State Collaboration Director for Head Start here, and they've kind of been just the leads on this here at the office on the Preschool Development Grant, so they are going to talk to us today a little bit about it.
Yeah,
Sure.
oh, I can. So, hi all, this is Heather Craiglow, and thanks for the opportunity for us to share our 30,000-foot view of the Preschool Development Grant. Where should we start? So, the grant is due on November 6th, so we are down to 8 days. And with that, we are, the federal government has an opportunity to focus on, for states to focus on the birth to 5 mixed delivery system. And it looks like Monica is pulling up a graphic in which we've designed. And so we'll just walk you through this document. We're really excited because the previous Preschool Development Grant allowed for 4-year-olds, whereas this one is birth to 5. And so we recognize in Colorado the value and the importance of starting early and focusing on infants and toddlers. So we're really excited about that part. The grant, it has 5 activities in which we need to accomplish. Activities 1 and 2 are related to a needs assessment and a strategic plan. And so if you want to scroll down a little bit more, we'll start there. Yeah, there we go. A needs assessment and a strategic plan. Another cool part of this grant is that we have the ability to take time to plan. So we're going to take that time and plan our plan and ensure that we are reaching out to stakeholders and using our needs assessment to really guide our strategic plan. So those are activities 1 and 2. And Lindsay, do you want to share about activities 3, 4, and 5?
Yep. So 1 and 2 will probably take the first 6 months of the year, and those activities must be complete before we can move into activity 5, which is quality improvement. Activity 3 talks about parent choice and knowledge, and so that's really our consumer education piece, as well as opportunities to expand service to families so they have opportunities to make choices. And that's an activity we can actually begin once we get funded, as well as activity 4, which is sharing best practices. That would talk a lot about, training, workforce development, incorporation of different services or knowledge into practice. And so that's another activity we can begin on year 1. The great thing about PDG, in addition to planning, is that a lot of the stuff that we are looking at to do may not be binding. And what I mean by that is that we can have a plan under activities 3, 4, and 5 for things that we would like to accomplish. However, once we complete the needs assessment and strategic plan, we may learn information that says what we thought we were going to do is a really bad idea or isn't going to move us towards our goal. And so then we get to shift course and actually do the things that will work. So once we complete the needs assessment and strategic plan, we actually have to develop a plan. Yes, plan, and submit it to the federal government. They're suggesting it'll take about 10 days for them to approve that. And then once we get that approval, we move into activity 5, which is quality, quality improvement. So based on our timeline, if we complete the needs assessment and strategic plan in June, that means we won't be able to start quality activities until mid-June or July at the earliest, which is only 6 months. Yeah. And yes, it aligns with fiscal years. But that also means that the state is probably going to need to take a fairly conservative approach to some of the changes that we propose under quality improvement, because there's no guarantee that will be funded beyond the first year. PDG is positioned as a 4-year grant, but states have to reapply for years 2 to 4 based on what they've done on year 1. So we're really trying to tackle some things that we know we can accomplish and show some outcomes from in year 1 that we know can be completed in year 1 or have the ability to be sustained if we start them, which is really kind of set our decision-making framework for what's in the grant. But again, using that needs assessment and strategic planning, that could change as well. So for now, we're doing our best to plan and to plan to do, knowing that once we kick off in January, that could all change.
We will be sending out this handout on our follow-up email. Did you guys want to talk a little bit about the letter?
Yes. So our application, we're limited to 65 pages, which is not a lot. And so we are looking at gathering letters of support and letters of commitment from our partners to really indicate that this is going to be a broadly engaging stakeholder process, that we have a lot of partners who are on board who support this vision of all children will be ready for school when entering kindergarten, and want to be actively participating in those planning activities. And so we'll be sharing a letter. I'm not sure, will that come from, I don't know who that will come from, but it'll come from one of us. But it's a letter that basically states our vision, identifies our long-term outcomes that we'll be working towards, and then asks for partners to support us in planning, needs assessment, and where appropriate, implementation. So it's pretty high level, but again, that's just kind of matching the structure of the grant and our application, because we need those 2 activities to define really what the work will be. We do think that once some of these activities are better defined, then we will be writing more specific documentation and maybe part of contracts or MOUs with partners. So that'll be part of that. After 6 months, we'll kind of move into that phase.
Yeah, and this is Heather. And I think, again, that plan-to-plan portion, we're putting some finishing touches on the grant for submission, and we're really right now zooming in on scoreable criteria because we have to score 70 points or above, and the federal government team will be the reviewers of that. And so one portion of ensuring scoreable criteria is that strategic plan. And Lindsay had mentioned, we're hoping to wrap that up by June. And so thinking of late winter, early spring of engaging our partners more so with strategic planning. And that's where we would hope to engage with the councils.
We do have one question. It says, when do you need the letters of support?
That is an excellent question. So we would love to have them turned around to us by October 30th. So just providing either a hard copy or an electronic copy is fine. We'll be able to work with both formats. But our goal as a state is to submit the grant on November 1st or November 2nd. We don't want to wait until our November 6th deadline, just because it's been a lot of work and we don't want to blow it. So again, if we could get by the 30th, that would be ideal.
Is there a particular format that you want people to put that in? I mean,
no,
an outline or just general?
Yeah, it's just the letter, you mean?
Yeah.
So the letter is already written. So we have what we plan to do, because we need to be considerate of our space limitations, is that we've drafted a letter that just illustrates support for the vision, and then indicates that partners will engage in these different the 5 activities of the grant. Again, we don't get into specifics because we're not there yet. And then we provide a place for partners to sign and then identify themselves.
Thanks, Lindsay and Heather. Do you guys have any more questions while Heather and Lindsay are here? When will they receive the template?
We have one question. This is Michelle. When will we receive the template?
So I think ASAP. I can get a copy to Julia or Monica, and then they'll be able to send that out.
Thank you so much. We'll give you guys a few more seconds to type in some questions. I know this was one of the topics that was you guys had asked for us to mention this topic, so I feel like there should be more than 2 questions. But if there aren't, and they did a great job covering it, that's fine too. Okay, that's it. If you guys do if you do have questions, just, email your coordinator and then we'll follow up with you guys. We'll move right along to our PDIS friends. Next, we have Jennifer O'Brien and Renee Alarcon with the PDIS update.
Hello, everybody. This is Renee. It has been a little while since we chatted, so I just have a couple updates. We just have a couple updates to provide regarding the early childhood credential and also the ongoing professional development documentation. Regarding the credential, just wanted to make mention and a quick reminder that if people are still needing their credential certificate prior to the system bug that occurred in May, please reach out to the PDIS help desk team. They can assist with getting folks that information. And also on the PDIS site, just on the main page at the very top, there is a link there that you can click on, and that will take you to much more information about the updates that have occurred and next steps and what you can do if assistance is needed. But of course, the PDIS team is a great start as well. Moving on to the ongoing professional development documentation updates. The last time that we mentioned this was back in April at the TA Day, so it has definitely been a little while, but we just wanted to revisit this again. Emails were sent out to all PDIS credentialed professionals on Tuesday of this week, so that was the 23rd. That communication notified everybody that instead of the November 1st timeline that we were originally working towards, we've now pushed that back to December 1st. And one of the main reasons for pushing that back was because of all the updates or all the issues that we were dealing with around the credential, the early childhood credential. If you didn't receive the communication, if you're hearing about people that didn't receive the communication, and of course they do have a credential, you can definitely let me or Jennifer know, or of course contact the PDIS team. And then also on the PDIS site, on the left side navigation menu, there is a link for ongoing professional development documentation, and hopefully that will provide you all the information that you need kind of going forward. Any questions that you have, that's a great place to start. And as always, you can reach out to the PDIS team as well on that one. Just a main point with regards to the OPD updates. The goal with that is we want to make sure that all documentation that is submitted, that it's accepted. We want to eliminate confusion for our users, and we want to make sure our users know exactly what is needed. And we don't want something to be rejected for it not having a date or not having an appropriate title. So that's kind of the driving force with that. And I think just one last thing that I wanted to mention, since since I all have you here, most of you know, probably everybody knows, but just to reiterate that the PDIS credential, it is another alternate pathway, and this is a really great way to ensure that everybody in this field with this expertise and this experience, that it truly is recognized. It's just a great option for a lot of people. So wanted to mention that, and also Jennifer and I are always available and happy to chat with councils. We kind of look forward to those conversations. So definitely reach out to us. And yeah, that's it for me. I don't know if there's any questions, or of course, if no questions now, if further questions come up, definitely reach out to me, the PDIS team, Jennifer.
Does anyone have any questions for Renee? Go ahead and type them in. Okay, well, moving right along, Renee talked a little bit about recognizing professionals with their professional credential. We want to talk a little bit about recognizing programs when they actually go through that quality rating, and how you can use our provider toolkit and use the Colorado toolkit to recognize them in your local community, if you have a newspaper or on your website. And Julia is going to give us some examples of what's been done in the past to really make those providers feel acknowledged and know that they have accomplished something great. It's not easy to go through a rating, and especially to earn a high quality rating. So Julia, give me 1 second. I will let you share your screen. And I do wonder if anyone has used the toolkit, if you can type in and what you've used it for.
Or we can
Technical difficulty. We're on our way to fix it. Okay.
So sorry about that, everyone. My microphone was on the webinar anyway. So my name is Julia Anderson. I am the Communications Specialist for the Division of Early Care and Learning. I'm going to talk a little bit about our Communications Toolkit. And what I wanted to start out with is to kind of show you where you can find this toolkit. So on our Colorado Science website, if you click on For Programs, and then you go to Program Resources down here, and scroll to the bottom, you will see a link here where you can download the toolkit. And so that's where you can access it. So we have one for programs and also for early childhood councils and child care resource referral agencies. And also, just to let you know, we are refreshing our website, so the navigation is going to change a little bit. So you won't be seeing this over here, hopefully in November. And instead, when the refresh happens, this information will be underneath communicating your rating. So if you click on that, then that'll kind of give you some more information on where to access the toolkit and some other resources too. So if you download our toolkit, I'm just going to pull it up here. It looks like this. And just an overview of some of the stuff we have. We have templates for press releases, letters to the editor, newsletter content, social media content, website content, print advertisements, etc. And I actually kind of want to start with the Colorado Science key messages because I've gotten a lot of questions on those recently. So I'm going to jump to page 18.
Julia, for some reason, I think there's a delay, but anyway.
Okay.
So if it's starting. Okay. So there's a delay in the screen, but so you can log in and access this document later on if you want to refer to it. There we go.
Oh, there we are. So I'm going to start with Colorado Shine's key messages. I've gotten a few questions lately about that, people looking for resources or talking points. And so we actually have all these outlined here by audience in the toolkit. So we have a general universal message that you can kind of look at just for an overview of how to talk about Colorado Shines and what the ratings mean, and also early learning and development. And then I'll just give a couple examples here. Then we have messages categorized by audiences. So if you're talking to programs professionals, we have some stuff written that really addresses that audience. We also have messaging focused on families. So if you're talking to families, early childhood partners, and other stakeholders. So these are all broken up on the next about 20 or so pages, kind of giving you an overview of how to talk about Colorado Shine.
I just want to say something. So we had a council call our helpline the other day, and there was a provider that had recently earned her level 5, and the local news was going to interview her, and she was nervous about being on TV, but also didn't know exactly what to say. So she got in touch, the council and the provider got in touch with Julia, and they kind of set her up just with some points about Colorado Shines that made her feel a little bit more comfortable. So that's an example of what we've done.
Yeah, thanks, Monica. That's a really good example. And, you know, in addition to using our toolkit, if you ever want to point somebody my direction, I'm more than happy to talk through some messaging or pointers with people or with you, and just provide, I want to make sure people feel comfortable talking about Colorado Shine. So please feel free to reach out to me. Okay, so I'm going to go back up and just show you some of our, give you a quick overview of some of the templates that are available. So we have a press release template, and each of our templates kind of gives an overview of how to use it or what it can be used for. Press releases are great for kind of sharing coverage and expanding awareness of your council, as well as like some of the programs. And the press release is really great and really great template. So it's written out here, and you can insert your council name, information about programs, your city, that kind of thing. And so it makes it really easy to just put this together and send it out, and hopefully get some more coverage. And we also have letter to the editor and also some web content and social media content that that is really helpful in the toolkit as well. Our Colorado Shines Facebook page is also a great resource for social media content, so feel free to share our posts or mention us. We love to be mentioned, and we will mention you back. But yeah, that's kind of a quick overview of what resources are available in the toolkit, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
This is Karen, you guys. I just wanted to, maybe this doesn't need to be said, but I wanted to be sure that it, because we did have a question come to us from a provider. Please make sure you're using finalized rating data. We did have a provider who earned a high rating, but their council didn't talk to them prior to publishing information, and unfortunately they were in an appeals process, and so they were confused and weren't even really sure how their information got out there. So just be mindful of that, and I would just say, you guys do such a great job talking to all your providers anyway. Just, if you're going to do something with them, mention it to them before you get it out there. So probably common sense, but.
And we will begin releasing, is it the high quality provider, Ms. Julia, during our Colorado Shines newsletter quarterly?
Oh yes, we're going to start doing that too. So that'll be a great way to kind of celebrate successes.
Does anyone have any suggestions or comments about how they're recognizing their programs in the community that have engaged in quality and are going through a quality rating or have earned that quality rating? Okay, and ECLA says that I just wanted to share for councils, this is included in our new ECLA membership handbook that was created this summer. This looks like an updated version that we will include moving forward. Thank you, Heather.
That's great.
Does anyone have any questions about the toolkit or how to market their program or Colorado Shines? We also have several providers get in touch with us because they want the Colorado Shines logo and they want it for their rating level. So if they rated a level 3, we have a vertical one or horizontal one that you can actually use and they look nice and print well. Or if you want to make T-shirts, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and our branding guidelines are also included in this toolkit, so you can reference that when you're adding the logo.
Yeah. And this is Lindsay Dorneman speaking. If there's anything that has worked particularly well in your community or you saw a provider do, we would love to hear about that because that's something that we can help other providers or councils replicate to get the word out. The tools we have are very kind of the standard tricks of the trade, but we love to learn about some innovative things that others are doing.
We do have a council, and thank you for commenting. It says, we acknowledge programs on our Facebook page and quarterly through our newsletter, obviously with the program's permission, very important to add. Always get the program's permission. Sometimes people, don't want to be celebrated publicly for whatever reason. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Julia and Lindsay, and we will move right along to our EQ team. And I apologize, Eva, I didn't know you were going to be here with us today, so I didn't include you on the slide. But we have Lisa Matter here.
You switch me to my
I will.
We'll hope that my microphone isn't on.
Yes. Okay.
All right, so good.
And I do apologize for all the background noise. You remember we are downtown, and for some reason it's very loud today, even though we're inside.
Lots of sirens.
Yeah.
I can see your screen.
I know, but I can't find the right view. Okay, there it is. Yeah, thank you. Hi, good afternoon. This is Lisa and
Eva Jankowski.
We're both here. We realized in looking at our slides that we haven't been at a TA Day webinar for a couple of months, and I know that in 2 more weeks we will be over at the ECLA meeting in the afternoon, so certainly if questions arise today that we don't have time to address or that you feel like would warrant a longer conversation, certainly write those down and bring those to that meeting. I always like to start with, when I'm talking with the councils, with this part of our goal, our work to increase the quality and availability of responsive group care for infants and toddlers. One of the pieces of that is supporting you all in your leadership and capacity and collaboration at your level so that you can meet the needs that are in your local community. And I want to celebrate some of the work that you've done so far. So far in this fiscal year, 8 EQIT courses have been completed. We're really excited that the average graduation size of those courses so far is over 20 people. And actually, taking out one outlier, it's closer to 24 people. And we know those are pretty good sized classes, which is hard work. One of the reasons that we have those 2 instructors for each of those classes. In those classes, 178 teachers have completed EQIT, and 41 of those completed the course in Spanish. We've completed 2 Spanish language courses. I have to say, this data goes all the way up until Saturday this weekend, so it's a little bit forward-looking, but those are the certificates we've sent out so far. And among those 8 classes, we've served 1,265 infants and toddlers. already. So that's pretty exciting news, and I just want to thank all of you for the work that you've put in to make that happen across the state. It also is a small amount because we still are looking towards completing about 62 EQIT courses this year and serving about just short of 1,100 people. Last year we served just short of 9,000 infants and toddlers, so we're hoping that that is a similar outcome again this year. I also want to have one of the questions that has come up is we got this information way back in March. This is how much the little small amount of money that goes out to support conducting EQIT in your communities, and I want to say probably 80% of everybody who is submitting their invoices is reflecting this information on their invoices. So I want to thank you for those, and also at the same time take this opportunity to clarify what exactly the process is so that we're all on the same page and makes it smooth so that you can get reimbursed as quickly as you can, which I'm going to get to in just a minute. One reporting piece that is due next week is for EQ, your only quarterly reporting is to track coaching hours. And this slide is actually not updated because in the time since I shared these slides with Monica, one more community has turned in their coaching hours, and we actually were up to 77 hours this fall. And I want to take this opportunity to remind you that EQIT coaching can be offered in the year after someone has taken EQIT. So that means starting at the beginning of the fiscal year, July, August, September, you can still be providing coaching to someone who completed the course last year. If there's questions about that, please let us know. We want to see all of those 2,700 hours of coaching that have been sort of encumbered to your communities completed, and 77 in the first 3 months means we're going to have to really ramp up to get more of those coaching hours completed, which I know is happening across communities. So again, thank you to the 9 communities who have submitted their coaching report. If your report is, no, we haven't conducted any hours, please do submit that as well, just so I know we're keeping up with each other. So we asked you this year to submit that to a link. If you haven't received that link, or the person who should be reporting hasn't received that link, please reach out to Eva and myself and we'll reconnect with you about that. So when you invoice, thank you to everyone who is sending me as well as the OEC invoicing inbox your invoice. And as a reminder, the only things that I am looking for are documentation that you've completed the deliverables. So I don't need the background documentation. You need to keep it where that money goes once you have it in your community. But I need to know how many EQIT modules per course have been completed. And you can either write that right in the body of the email with the invoice. So we completed module 1 on September 1st and module 2 on September 5th for a total of 13 modules this month. And then you multiply the number of modules times $281.25. And if you forget what that number is, it's $4,500 divided by 16, the number of modules. And then to document the coaching hours that you are requesting reimbursement for, you're going to use that same spreadsheet that you're using to request certificates. So on the far right-hand side of that column, it's broken out by months, so you can just capture the coaching hours that were conducted in any month, and it totals up for you what happened in a quarter. So you can just take that number for your quarterly reporting, should be right in your spreadsheet, but please just send that spreadsheet however it is at the end of the month that you are requesting invoicing for. And again, if anyone has questions as we're going along, do pop those in there. I want to also do a little quick reminder about requesting certificates. This is also, there's a link to request certificates, which is a different process. You used to have to complete that spreadsheet and complete a Word document and send both of those to me. Now you complete that spreadsheet that has everyone's information in it, and then we'll ask you in the job form, so in the online link, to include your demographic information, including being specific where you want the certificate sent, and you include the course completion date so that we know how quickly to turn those certificates around if we need to get them out right away the day the request comes in. But we do appreciate if you can get those in 2 weeks before the end of the course so that those certificates can be there at the end of the course. You're also going to include the dates that the course happened, who the instructors were, the total number of participants, both the number that enrolled and the number that were completing. A question that I have for you and councils is, are those numbers changing or shifting for you, and why do you think so in your community? And again, the total number of infants and toddlers served. And when we look at that spreadsheet, we'll see all the individuals who have an X under the serving 0 to 3-year-olds have a number of infants and toddlers associated with their name. We wouldn't see a number of children served with individuals who take EQIT who are primarily preschool teachers, although with family child care providers, we would like to see the number of infants and toddlers served. And I know in many communities right now, the college credit piece is not working well, and you can certainly just mark not applicable. And there's an area on that request form where you can also provide notes and comments to us. We're going to ask you to tell us just pop in any comments you have about how things are going in your community. And I'm going to ask Eva, because I see she wrote some great notes, to talk about where we are with the most recent cohort of infant toddler specialists.
Yeah, so we just went through our Train the Trainer event with about 30 new infant toddler training specialists. So approximately all of them have completed their requirements to move into their provisional trainer status. So that means that throughout this first year, they have a provisional status until they complete all of their requirements throughout this year, and then they'll be official EQIT instructors. Once they have their provisional status, however, they're allowed and able to start teaching with their communities. So many of them have already started, and some of them will start in January. We did add 3 new teams across the state, so that was exciting to add those teams in places where the EQ course was not being offered previously, so that's great. We also had that group go through their coaching certification with us, so many of them are now EQIT coaches as well. So they have been given permission to begin coaching with this next training that they begin to provide. They're allowed to do follow-up coaching with those community members that are in their courses.
Can I clarify?
Yeah.
And as you know, they may not yet have their coaching credential. The EQ initiative requires them to hold their coaching credential by the end of the fiscal year. And for participants who are participating in Colorado Shines, they have approximately 6 months from when they completed their coaching training to earn that credential. So they will need to have that credential completed by March in order for that coaching to count under the coaching indicator in Colorado Shines. So it's important to support them in getting that done. They may feel a sense of relief that they've been through all the trainings, but they still have that step of completing their credential application.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and likewise, we also conducted adult learning training with many of them, and so part of that is equivalent to the requirements for the RBPD, so that helps them to meet the requirements to get their training credential. So that's also another piece that we require the EQIT instructors to hold. So they need to have an intermediate trainer credential level for us. So that's another piece that will be needed to be completed at the end of June 2019 for our group, for this next group. I think that's probably about it. So we're really excited that we have this next group of 30 people who are joining different community teams and creating 3 new teams across the state. And we're excited to keep continuing to build our infant toddler training specialist network.
We do have one question. It says, what is the time period for 8 EQIT courses?
I'm not sure exactly what that means.
I think you guys completed 8.
Are you asking about, we have completed, so around the state, since the beginning of the fiscal year, so since July 1st.
This is for the first slide you had.
Yeah. 8 EQIT courses have been completed in local communities in the state, which will be from July 1st through October 27th, because as I said, one of those, I sent those certificates out this week for a class that's ending on Saturday. So far, 8 courses have been completed.
And another fun fact, or 2 fun facts, we typically complete 62 courses across the state annually, and we usually have about 1,000 folks who complete their EQIT training with us. So we still have a bulk to come through.
Way to go.
Yeah.
And I just today had a question. An EQIT instructor called me and asked me to clarify something, and it was a perfect opportunity to clarify this with all of you here, which is what happens when a participant misses a module of EQIT. In the past, there have been many different ways that has been made up. The short answer is participants can miss 1 or 2 modules and still receive a certificate if they make up the content and time that was missed. So we have a bank of homework assignments that can be used. We would expect that a participant would get to view the videos that were missed if there were videos in the module that they missed. We strongly discourage participants from dropping into another EQIT class to make up that module. It tends to be very disruptive to the relationships that are built in that other course. If a participant starts EQIT and drops out after 1 or 2 modules, they should start the whole thing over again. But it's especially important that all of us in each council agree that this is how it's working, because it's confusing to the field when one community maybe doesn't do any makeup work and another community maybe does some makeup work and another community maybe lets some people just slide by. We're happy to support you in finding out what homework assignments would be appropriate for your community for making up work. I have also, in a number of cases, been the heavy. I'm happy to be the person that says, no, this person can't earn their EQIT certificate. That said, in rare cases where someone has missed 3 modules, these are rare cases like a parent died, the teacher went into labor before the end of the EQIT course, and that's why she missed the last 2 modules. With my written permission, someone can miss 3 modules, and again, there has to be makeup work made up. And in these cases, the instructors are calling me and telling me, no, this person was really committed, they were interacting, they were participating, everything, and they just had this major emergency, and we're confident that they understand the content that they missed. But again, 3 modules needs written permission from the EQ initiative. So I was glad, again, to have your ear today so I could clarify those pieces for everybody. And we do just want to share one more thing. And again, if you have any questions, pop them in. And that's that we are investing in an appreciative inquiry approach to look at our coaching model. And this is a picture of the first affirmative topic discussion that we conducted last week. Was it last week? Yeah. Last week. Where we gathered together a group of EQ coaches and asked them to start reflecting on what is it that's great about this coaching model, what's working well, what's the best of what we have. And the intention is to go through a process of looking at what is the best we have so that we can imagine where it could get better, and then begin to design some specific changes and implement those changes over the course of the year. And next week on Tuesday at 10:30 in the morning, 10:30 on 10:30 is the date. That's how I'm reminding myself. We'll have a very short webinar, probably less than 20 minutes, to enroll all of you, any of you, also coaches, anyone across the state who wants to help with this project. In the main phase, the main part of the discovery phase of this process is conducting interviews so that we can really understand what is it like on the ground, what is working well about this coaching model in local communities and for local individuals. So if you'd like to participate in that, please shoot me an email and I'll send you the link out to that. We will and then invite you to participate by conducting interviews over the next several months. And if you would like to learn more, we have been collecting all of the videos, recordings from our webinars that we've had to date in one place, so you can link, and we'll send these slides out so you'll have the link there. Oh, I put it in there, great. The link for next week's webinar is already in my slides, so you have it right there so you can join us next week, 10:30 on 10:30 if you'd like to hear about that, or share it with any coaches in your community. And I think that's all we have for today. So thank you again. We'll be in person at the ECLA meeting on November 16th. If you have specific questions that came up today and didn't or weren't able to articulate today, and I'll pause there to see if there any more questions came up.
We don't have any questions, just a comment. It says, we've used Zoom successfully in cases when a person cannot attend a module in person. In one case, the person participated this way more than they did face-to-face.
Thank you.
And then we also, Adam says, enrollment is average in their community. No college credit coaching engagement is happening per the usual rate. It always starts slow, then picks up towards the end of the semester.
Thank you for sharing that and responding to my prompt.
And we'll send out these slides, so if you didn't get the invitation, the link for the webinar next week, we'll send out these slides. Any other questions for the EQIT team? Okay, moving right along is our favorite topic. Chief staff. Well, it really is. If we look at this dashboard, it really shows a lot of the council work. So it is one of our favorite topics. Hopefully everyone has seen this before.
Yes.
Hopefully everyone has seen this before. It is a live link. You'll see in the top corner that you'll see initials of people or a letter that means that someone's actually looking at it live. It's updated every 2 weeks. So you'll notice that it's moved, it's hopefully been going up and up and up. We started with our goal being 23.5%. And we mentioned last time that since we already, that was by June of 2019, and since we already achieved that goal, our executive management team came back to us and said that we probably didn't calculate that correctly and needed a higher goal. So our data team went back to the drawing board and they had more data to work with. Since Colorado Shines in rating really is fairly new, they were able to have a few more months to actually come up with this next calculation. So our new goal is to be at 25.2%. So if you need, I have this link on the slides. You should have access to it. It should be on your agenda for your monthly calls, but let me know if you need it. Something that we've added, and I know I've demonstrated this to many of you, is this tab that's called CSQI 1819 MOU. So this tab right here is going to show all of the programs that are receiving, that have signed an MOU and are receiving those Colorado Shines Quality Improvement dollars beginning last October. So a year ago when we kind of blended those funds and made the Colorado Shines QI. So you'll see, let's start with this program at the top, just to give an example. And so their MOU, they accepted it on November 2nd of 2017. It shows their quality level, how much they've spent, the coaching hours they've received, and then if you scroll all the way to the end, you will see the timeline for that 18 months for that MOU. So this.
Let's do one more.
Oh, one more.
No. Sorry. Never
Okay.
mind. My bad.
So hopefully most of you have seen this. We've been sharing it during our monthly calls. Let us know if you have any questions about it or if you want anything added to this dashboard. It's basically Salesforce and sugar data in one place. And it'll kind of help tell the story of the program, knowing what's been invested in the in that program and how long it's taken them to reach that quality level. And then this way you can keep track and know, well, they need to submit for their rating because it's been 16 months or whatnot. So does anyone have any questions about this dashboard or CSTAT in general? Hopefully you've all had some time to go on to this Google form and mess with it a little bit and find the programs in your area. Let us know if you have any questions. And next, we just have a couple announcements. The first announcement is just a reminder that your quarterly reports are due on Halloween by close of business. Also, Karen and Bowden's birthday, which is October 31st. Let us know if you can't, those are on those Google Docs. If you don't have access to the form, let us know. I, for one, am really bad at giving access to people, and I follow the rule. I follow the steps, but people have still had issues with them. So let me know if you don't have access to them or if you need an extension on turning those in. And one more thing we just wanted to show you, and this is probably going to be new to several of you, and it's pretty much for your QI navigators. We had QI navigators wanting to know what communication was sent out to programs they were working with. And I just picked a random program, this Bethany Busy Bee Preschool. It has nothing to do with this particular program. I'm just pulling one up. But if you go under the program and then under their QRS application, right here you'll see the QI Navigator and QI Navigator email. What you're going to want to do is click Edit, and then you can put that information in and save it. If you do that, all the communication that's sent out to the program will also be sent to the QI Navigator. That'll keep them in the loop with any communication that comes out for the rating. Any questions on that?
Let us know. Let us know if you have any questions when you get in there. It's pretty straightforward, but we're happy to walk you through.
Okay, we do have a few questions because we have heard a rumor about a pilot for a Colorado Shines rating for school-age programs. Can you address that? We're gonna, that rumor is gonna get shot down. It is not, we have not heard anything.
I do think I have heard that there's a, potentially it might be Weld County who is doing some piloting, but that is outside of Colorado Shines. And so at this point now, we don't have anything coming from the state level through licensing on a school age rating.
And then we have another question that says, when will we receive the form or Google Doc? The form with the dashboard for the wildly important goal, that you should have. We're going to send it out again on these slides. And if you're referring to the Google Doc with your quarterly reports, your coordinator will send you that link. Does anyone have any more questions? And we will be sending out all the materials that that we used today in our follow-up email. Someone said, I received the cancellation notice for the Thanksgiving Day State TA webinar. Is there going to be a reschedule for the November webinar, or are we skipping it? We were discussing that today. I think what we'll probably do is do something early December because the December webinar also falls around the holidays, and I know many people are out of town or busy with family, so we'll probably reschedule that for the first or second week of December. Okay, well, we're recording this. We'll have it posted on the website and follow up with all these documents. Thank you so much for your time. Anyone else have anything? Michelle?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, have a good rest of your day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.